Tired of recipe apps that just don't cut it? What if I told you the secret to organizing thousands of your favorite dishes from around the world might already be on your computer? Get ready to transform your culinary chaos into kitchen control. I'm about to show you my Excel Cookbook, a powerhouse spreadsheet that stores, organizes, and retrieves thousands of recipes instantly. We are talking descriptions, ingredient photos, detailed steps, country flags, calories count, and even multi-language support. And the best part? A lightning-fast searchable drop list makes finding any recipe a breeze. I am Nabil Murad. Stick around because I'm going to show you how to build this ultimate recipe hub from scratch by combining so many of Excel tools and functions to end up with a delicious project. Let's dive into Excel. This is my finished cookbook. It shows all details for a Spanish recipe, paella. I can see the name of the recipe in cell A2, the country of origin in B2, and the flag of the country in cell C2. I can also see the number of servings for this recipe in cell D1 and the calories per serving in cell E1. The description of this dish is in cell A4, while in cell A6, I can see all details and ingredients for this recipe. The ingredients list, the quantity, the measurement, the details, and in column E, I have a picture for each one of the ingredients, in case you are not familiar with that ingredient, especially that this cookbook includes international recipes. To the right side, I can see all the preparation steps for that recipe. And because I have thousands of recipes in this cookbook, I can go to the drop list in cell A2 and click to select a different recipe. Let's go with moussaka. This is a famous Greek dish. Everything updates: the ingredients, the quantity, the country, the flag, the description, the preparation steps, and all the pictures in column E for the individual ingredients. Let's try another one, and this time I'll be selecting koshari, which is a famous Egyptian dish. Everything updates on the fly. If English is not your main language, then you can change language by selecting the drop list in cell H1 and then select a different language. What if I select French? Automatically, I get a translation for the preparation steps. I click and select a different one. Let's select Chinese Simplified, and I get a translation for the preparation steps. And because some of the languages are written right to left, like Persian, Hebrew, Arabic. So what happens when I select one of these languages? Let's say I'll be selecting Arabic, and now I can read the text right to left, and that's wonderful. Let's go back to English. When I select English, then everything disappears in the lower section because there is no need to duplicate the preparation steps. Now let's build this project from ground up in Excel. This is my start file, and it shows different colors of sheets. The sheets with a blue tab color represent the different recipes. I have one single recipe in each sheet, and I can have thousands of recipes. The sheets in green represent the preparation sheets. And finally, the leftmost sheet, this is my dashboard, the recipe sheet. It appears in gray color. We are going to explore all the different types of sheets. I have each recipe on a separate sheet. The name of the tab corresponds to the name of the recipe, and I see it as well in cell A1. In cell C1, I see the country, the number of servings in cell D1, and I have the calories per serving in cell E1. In cell A2, I have a description for that recipe. Starting from cell A4, I have the details of the ingredients, the quantity, the measurement, and the details. In column G, I have all the preparation steps. All the recipes have the same exact structure. Let's see another one. This is a Greek recipe, moussaka, and I have the same exact information in the same exact location in the worksheet. Whatever the number of recipes, each one will be in a separate worksheet, and the worksheet will be named following the recipe name. This is the key point. Let's have a look at the preparation worksheets. In the names worksheet, I have three tables. The table to the left shows the name of the recipe, which I'm going to compile from the sheet names with a function, and then it shows a picture of the finished recipe in column D. In the next table that I named my flag, I have the name of the country and the corresponding flag of that country, and finally in columns K and L, I have the language table that I use for creating the translation for the preparation steps. In the ingredients worksheet, I have a long list of all the ingredients used in all recipes. Of course, some of the ingredients are used in many recipes. I don't have duplicates here. So I have a list of ingredients in column A and a picture in cell for that ingredient in column B. These were the preparation steps for creating my dashboard in the recipe worksheet. When I finished my project, only the recipe worksheet will be visible. All other worksheets will be hidden. Our first step will be creating a drop list for all the recipes in cell A2. There are different ways for extracting a list of worksheet names, either by using function, Power Query, or VBA. You can watch my related tutorial, link is in the description below this video. But for the purpose of this project, I'm going to use a macro for Excel function called GET.WORKBOOK. And therefore this file should be saved in a .xlsm format. To create this function, I have to create a defined name. So I go to the Formulas tab of the ribbon, I click on Defined Name, and I'm going to name it My Sheet. And in the refers to box, I type equal get.workbook, and in brackets 1, I open, I close the bracket. When I hit OK, I would have created a macro for Excel function. Let's test it in one of the cells. If I type equal My Sheet, I can see it in the IntelliSense list, so I select it, and then I hit enter, and I get a long list of all the sheet names. But you might have noticed that each sheet name is preceded by the name of the workbook in square brackets. I just want the sheet name, and I want them in a column, not in a row. And to do that, I'm going to transpose my sheet. So I put it in the edit mode F2, and I wrap it in a transpose function. I close the bracket, and when I hit enter, I get a list of all the sheets in one single column. And in order to exclude anything preceding the closing bracket, I'm going to wrap my function in a text after dynamic array function. I put my function in the edit mode F2, and I type text after. I click at the end, I type a comma, and I want the text after the closing square bracket, so in double quotes I type a closing square bracket and I close the bracket for the text after function. When I hit enter, this is the list of the worksheet name. But because the three leftmost sheets are either the dashboard and the preparation sheet, while I just want a list of the recipe sheets, then I'm going to exclude the top three. And to do that, I'm going to put my function in the edit mode, and I want to drop the top three. Then I wrap it in a drop function. I type drop, I click at the end, I type a comma, and I type 3. I close the bracket, I hit enter, and now I have a list of recipes after excluding the three leftmost sheets. Let's copy this function from the formula bar. Control C to copy, I hit escape, I don't need it here, then I delete it, and I want it in cell A2 of the names worksheet, equal sign, Control V. When I hit enter, then I get a list of all the recipes in this workbook. In column C in the recipe table, I'm referencing each recipe equal A2 and I copy it down. Now I have a list of recipe and I have their corresponding picture. To create my drop list in the recipe worksheet, I need to reference cell A2 in this worksheet, the names worksheet. So I go to the recipe worksheet in cell A2. I go to the data tab of the ribbon. I click on data validation. I want to select a list, then under allow I select list. The shortcut is Alt-DL. I put my blinking cursor in the source box and I click on the names worksheet and I select cell A2 and I type the spelled array symbol, Shift 3 on your keyboard, the number sign. When I hit OK, now I should have created my drop list from which I can select any recipe. After creating the drop list for the different recipes in cell A2, I want to extract the related information for each one of the recipes from the corresponding worksheet. And that requires building a two-dimensional set reference. Let's have a look at this worksheet paella or paella. I have the country name in cell C1, the number of servings in cell D1, and the calories per serving in cell E1. I also want to extract the description, which is in cell A2, and I want to extract all the information for the ingredients and the details and the quantity, as well as the preparation in column G, starting from cell G4. To do that, in the recipe worksheet, I select cell B2 and I type an equal sign. The worksheet name must be in single quotation, so I type double quote, single quotation, double quote. I want to join it to the name of the recipe coming from cell A2. Then I use Shift 7 on my keyboard. I click on cell A2 and I want to join it to the cell reference. Then I use another joining operation. I want the closing single quotation. I type it in double quote, a single quotation, an exclamation mark, and I type cell C1 and I close the double quotation. That should build a two-dimensional cell reference. But to have Excel understand it, I have to include it in an indirect function. Then I type indirect, I open bracket, and I close the bracket at the end. Where I hit enter, I was able to extract the country of origin. If I test by selecting a different recipe, then automatically I'm able to extract the country from the corresponding worksheet. I will be doing the same in cell D1 for the number of serving and for the calories per serving in cell E1 and for the description in cell A4. I have some custom formatting in cell D1 and E1. Let's review the custom formatting. I hit Ctrl 1 and I select custom and I want whatever the number of calories. I want calories per serving, calorie / serving. This will be padded to the number of calories. I repeat for the description. When I hit enter, I was able to extract the description. I'm switching to another recipe to test and everything is working fine. Now I want to extract all the details of the ingredients and that requires a little bit more doing. So to have a look, the ingredients are in the columns A, B, C, D starting from A4. But because the number of ingredients differ from one recipe to another, so I'm going to extend my selection and make it from A4 to D22. I go back to the recipe worksheet and in cell A6, I'll be typing equal indirect. I open bracket, I build the structure, double quote, single quotation, double quote, and I select cell A2. And then I use another joining operator and I type double quote, single quotation, exclamation mark. And this time I want from A4 colon to D22. And I close the double quotation, I close the bracket for the indirect function. And then I hit enter. Et voila! I got all the details, the ingredients, the quantity, the measurement, and the details. But because I selected some extra rows to accommodate for the change from one recipe to another, then I want to get rid of these empty rows to make it flexible, and that's the perfect job of a trim range function. I wrap my indirect function in a trim range, and the trim range function allows me to get up to the last used row. I click at the end and I type a comma, and I want to get rid of the trailing empty rows. Then I select 2, I hit the tab key, and I close the bracket for the trim range function, and I fix the problem. I will be using a similar function for the preparation step. I can copy this one and modify it. So I can select it, Control C to copy, I hit Escape, I select cell H6, and I want to extract the preparation steps. So I type an equal sign and I paste my trim range function, and I want to change the range. Instead of A4 D22, I'll be selecting the range from G4 to G17. Now when I hit enter, I get all the preparation steps. My next step will be extracting the country flag for each recipe, and I'll be creating some other lookup picture to extract the picture for each ingredient, and that will be dynamic. So when I select a different recipe, the country flag will change and all the picture of the ingredients will change as well. To extract a corresponding picture for each ingredient in a dynamic way, I prepared for that in the preparation worksheet named Ingredients. In the Ingredients worksheet, I have a list of the different ingredients I use in the different recipes, and I got a picture from the internet for each one of these ingredients. This table is named Ingredients, and I'm going to look at the Ingredients column and extract the picture from the sample column. I do that in the recipe worksheet. So in cell E7, I create an XLOOKUP function equal XLOOKUP, and then I hit tab. My lookup value will be the ingredients column. Then I select the ingredients from A7 and I extend my selection to A22 because the number of ingredients differ from one recipe to the other. I type a comma and my lookup array will be the ingredients table. So I type ingredients. I select it from the IntelliSense list, I type an opening square bracket, and I select ingredients, and I close the square bracket. I type a comma, what's your return array? My return array will be from the ingredients table, but a different column, the sample column. I close the square bracket, and then I type a comma, an important argument here, if not found, that I want nothing, double quote, and I close the bracket for the XLOOKUP function. Where I hit enter, I would have extracted the corresponding pictures for each one of the ingredients. To extract the country flag of the selected recipe, I use a similar XLOOKUP function, but this one will look at the preparation worksheet names, where I have a table for the country and the flag, and the name of this table is my flag. So I go back to the recipe worksheet. In cell C2, I type equal XLOOKUP, I hit the tab key, I select the name of the country, cell B2, I type a comma, what's your lookup array? My flag table, I hit tab, I open square bracket, I select the country, I close the square bracket, I type a comma, my return array will be my flag, I open square bracket, and this time I want the picture, which is the picture of the flag. I close the square bracket, I type a comma, if not found, double quote, I close the bracket for the XLOOKUP function, I hit enter, and here is the flag of the country. Let's test by selecting a different recipe. So what if I select the next recipe? This is the French flag and all the ingredients change. Let's try another one. Let's say this one, which is a Hungarian recipe, goulash, and I can see the different ingredients. Everything is working fine, everything is dynamic. My next step will be the translation of the preparation steps. In cell H1, I want to create a drop list for the different language in preparation for translating the preparation steps. Then I select H1, I go to the Data tab of the ribbon, I click on Data Validation, I want a list. With my blinking cursor in the source box, I go to the Names worksheet where I have a table for the different languages. I select the language column from the language table. When I hit OK, I would have created a drop list for the different languages. Let's select any language for now. Let it be English. In cell I1, I need the code for each language, but I want it to be invisible. And I'll be using an XLOOKUP function for doing that. Equal XLOOKUP, I hit tab, I look for the language selected in cell H1, and then I type a comma. My lookup array will be in the language table, so I type language, I select it by hitting tab, I open square bracket, I select the language column, and I close the square bracket. That was my lookup array. I type a comma, my return array will be the code column of the language table. Then I type language one more time, I select it, I open bracket, and I select the code, I close the square bracket, and then I type a comma. If not found, I want a blank, double quote, and I close the bracket for the XLOOKUP function. When I hit enter, I get the code. Let's test. If I select a different language, let it be German, then I get the corresponding code. But because we want this code to be invisible, then I go to the Home tab of the ribbon, I click on the down arrow for the font color, and let's select a font color that matches the background. Now we have the code in cell I1, but it is invisible. My next step is to translate the preparation steps starting from cell H16. To translate the preparation steps, I use a translate function. But because the preparation steps are already in English, then if I select English from the drop list, I don't want to translate to English. So I'll be creating an if function in cell H16, equal if, and then I hit tab. If cell I1 does not equal, in double quotation, English, EN, then in this case, I want the translate function. So I type translate, and then I hit tab. Which text would you like to translate? I want to translate the text in cell H6. I'll be copying the function down, so I don't lock it. I type a comma, and because the source language is English, I type another comma to skip this argument, and for the target language, I select cell I1, and I lock it by hitting F4. I close the bracket for the translate function, I type a comma, and for the value if false, if the language is English, what do you want? I type double quote, and I close the bracket for the if function. And before copying, I need to lock I1 by hitting F4. I hit enter. Now I can copy this function all the way down. And I want to fill without formatting. I click on the options tag and I select fill without formatting. And I finished creating this function. Let's test it. I select from the drop list, let's say French, everything is working fine. What if I select English? The translation should be turned off, and that is working fine. Some of the languages are written right to left, and that will cause a problem. So for example, if I select Persian or Hebrew or Arabic, these languages are right to left. So it starts from column H to the left. We need to fix this issue. I select English one more time, and I'll be fixing it by editing the function in column H. So I put my function in the edit mode. I'll be working in the formula bar. And this time I don't have a single condition, not only one single logical test, I have 4 logical tests. So I modify my function with an OR function. The OR function accommodates multiple logical tests. And I say if I1, which is the code, is AR, which stands for Arabic, or if I1 is HE, which stands for Hebrew, or if I1 is FA, which stands for Persian, or if I1 is EN, which stands for English, if any one of these logical tests returns a true, then I want nothing. Otherwise, I want my translate function. I hit enter and I get nothing because I have English. I want to copy down and then test with the other options. I copy down, fill without formatting, and now I can test. From the drop list in cell H1, what if I select Arabic? I don't get anything. What if I select Hebrew? I get nothing. What if I select Persian? I get nothing. What if I go back and select Greek? Now everything is working fine. To accommodate for the right to left languages, I'm going to create a similar function in column N. So if I have Arabic, Hebrew, or Persian, the right to left languages, the translation starts in column N. So let's select English to turn off the translation. I'm selecting cell N16 and in the formula bar, I type an equal sign. I create my if function with my OR function accommodating 3 logical tests. If the language is Arabic, Hebrew, or Persian, what do you want? I want my translate function. I type a comma after the closing bracket of the translate. Otherwise, what do you want? I want nothing, double quote, double quote. I hit enter. Now I want to copy this function all the way down and then test. I copy the function down. I want to copy without formatting, and now I can test. I select Arabic, and my function is working just fine, and the translation is right to left. If I select a different language, let's select Hindi, then translation is left to right, and everything is working fine. To finalize this project and test, I want to apply some protection. Users should be able to deal only with the 2 drop lists, and I want to hide all the other worksheets. So I start selecting the ingredients worksheet. I press Ctrl and click on the right pointing arrow. I press Shift and click on the last worksheet, and I want to hide all the recipes. Right click and hide. Now I see only the recipe worksheet. In the recipe worksheet, I want to apply protection. In preparation for applying protection, I select cell A2, I press Ctrl and select H1. These 2 cells should be unlocked before applying protection, so I need to open the Format Cell dialog box, Ctrl 1. In the Format Cell dialog box, I take the check away from the Locked on the Protection tab. This is the Protection tab. I unchecked Locked and then I hit OK. Now I'm ready to apply protection. I go to the Review tab of the ribbon. I click on Protect Sheet. And I want the user to be able to select only the unlocked cells. What about the locked cells? It is unchecked. And I don't need these options. And I hit OK. If I try to select any cell in the worksheet, I can't. But if I select cell A2, I can click on the down arrow of the drop list and select a different recipe. Everything updates on the fly. If I want to select a different language, I click on the down arrow and let's say I want to select Spanish. Everything is working fine. And I finished creating my project. You can apply the same concept for any number of recipes. If you have 1,000 recipes, just make sure that each recipe is on a separate worksheet and you follow the same structure across the different recipes. If you found value in this tutorial, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel to be notified when new tutorials are released. The best is yet to come. Thanks for watching and see you next time.